First in news today, a Northeast Nebraska teacher is accused of having sexual relations with a student. 34-year-old Brittany Stanek of Bancroft faces 2 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor and a first-degree sexual assault of a child charge, allegations that could have far-reaching consequences. Authorities say text messages revealed explicit content, and one minor claims Stanek drank with them and had sex with him. Stanek has been arrested, posted bail, and is awaiting a preliminary hearing set for June 11th. She was a teacher at Bancroft Rosalie Public Schools at the time of the alleged crimes. A special election to recall the mayor in a small south-central Nebraska town has been canceled. Opponents of Mayor Nathaniel Brown submitted a petition to recall back in January. In a statement issued this week, the Clay County Election Commissioner said state statute deems Brown can't be recalled because the election office received the petition within 6 months of Brown becoming mayor. The recall vote had been scheduled for June 10th. You may have noticed certain gas pumps out of stock lately as Nebraska deals with a mild shortage of certain types of fuel. Local refiners believe it's because many producers are switching from winter to summer blends, and it's taking longer than normal to get everything changed over. Some companies say they're now looking out of state to places like Kansas or Wyoming to try to fill the gap, which in turn could raise prices. Diesel and other blended fuels could be tougher to find than traditional gasoline. Earlier this month, Governor Jim Hillen signed an executive order making it easier for truckers hauling fuel to get it to gas stations. The order now runs through the end of June.
When the next severe weather event happens, don't get caught in the dark. Power your kitchen, HVAC, and communication systems with a Jackery solar-capable generator. Just click on our YouTube affiliate shopping tab and you're on your way.
Lincoln Crime Stoppers is asking the public for help with a recent case. J.C. Penney reported that multiple comforters are being stolen from the store in Gateway Mall. Lincoln police say these suspects are coming into the store, grabbing comforters from the shelves and walking out without paying for them. They say in the past few months, 6 women have been caught on surveillance video committing the same crime. Police say they're not sure if the cases are related. One person is recovering from injuries following a crash near Madison. It happened Wednesday around 4 p.m. on Highway 81 near the intersection of Highway 32 in northeast Nebraska. An SUV ran into the back of a semi, causing it to overturn, according to the Madison County Sheriff's Office. Investigators say the driver of the SUV, James Hitz, was forced to swerve so he didn't hit the semi, clipping the back left side of the trailer. Hitz was taken to the hospital in Norfolk with undisclosed injuries. The semi driver checked out and released at the scene. With 11 days left in the session, Nebraska lawmakers have passed a budget for the next 2 years. There was a major projected shortfall when legislators began shaping the next 2 years of spending, which will amount to about $11 billion total dollars. They were able to squeeze into the mark successfully with a little breathing room, and by transferring funds, should be able to eliminate some lost money. The vote was 37-11 in favor of moving it forward. Governor Jim Hillen is applauding the senators for passing the budget. Now he will do a line-by-line veto, or at least has the option to do that for items he disagrees with. If there's a motion to override, the senators would need 30 votes to be able to do so. A school district in southeast Nebraska had a hefty bond issue fail to pass earlier this week. Now officials are taking time to react, reflect, and look to the future. NCN's Jake Bartecki has more from Tri-County Public Schools just north of Beatrice.
Earlier this week, a bond issue aimed at improving facilities at Tri-County Public Schools on the border of Gage, Saline, and Jefferson counties in southeast Nebraska narrowly failed to pass. And now it begs the question, where does the district go from here? Superintendent Randy Schlueter says his first reaction to the results was disappointment.
Disappointed for the students at Tri-County, disappointed for the district of Tri-County that we weren't going to be able to expand our programs and move the district forward.
The proposal was for a project costing over $28 million that would increase capacity, expand parking, and improve arts and athletic facilities. The election was conducted solely by mail-in voting. About 52% of voters were against the bond issue, thus resulting in it not passing. As a plan for moving forward, Schlueter says that remains up in the air.
The board continually said we are going to go on the assumption that this bond is going to be successful. So they don't have a plan B in place yet or a next step.
As the district begins to regroup, Schlueter says there are options to make certain improvements bit by bit, but it's made more difficult with the bond issue failing to pass.
The board potentially could do a piecemeal, but they couldn't do it all. They could decide, well, we're going to do this one piece now and pay for it in 3, 4, 5, 6 years, then do the next. But by the time you get that far down the road, your costs are significantly greater than if you'd have done it all at once.
In Jefferson County, Jake Bartecki for News Channel Nebraska.
Norfolk's most prominent citizens behind bars? Well, it's not what you think. The local senior center's wild fundraising twist for the Big Give has people in the area talking. Find out how these jailbirds are pleading for your help. Reporter Hanky Hazelton has the full story.
Forget bake sales and car washes. The Norfolk Senior Center is turning fundraising on its head. Some of Norfolk's most familiar faces have been cuffed and locked up, all in the name of a good cause, but will it be enough to free the inmate?
Each person has to raise $1,000 before we'll let them go, or at the end of 2 hours, whichever comes first. So each one has to raise $1,000 by calling friends and family and associates, whoever they want to call, that they think will help them make bail so they can get out.
For the citizens to serve time, they are serving seniors, said Acting Sheriff Frank, and to make sure their sentence is paid in full, the jail has a system to keep track of what they have raised.
As they get money raised, the chip goes in the jar. And that's how that works. So we can kind of keep track. But we do have a town clerk that's there with the ledger, and he is keeping track of all the donations that come in.
Now, they told us to stay away from the jail cells just because you can tell you never know what to expect from an inmate. A lot of yelling, throwing things. But I got to tell you, as a gentleman myself, it is a very eerie feeling being in the presence of a jail. And one of the things I just thought, these were once productive citizens of Norfolk, and I had to ask them, how are they holding up now being on the other side, and have they raised any money, and what were they allegedly accused of?
I don't eat my vegetables.
I'm being held against my will. The conditions are almost unlivable. It's like a third world country in here, and please send help.
I'm in for eats too many donuts, and I'm going to challenge that.
With the center being a very important part of the community to not only serve seniors, but after-school care for kids as well, Margot says the money brought in covers so much more than people ever realize.
We offer lots of things here very important for our seniors. We also do Meals on Wheels, and the state does give some assistance with Meals on Wheels. However, it does not begin to cover the cost even of the meals. But if somebody can't afford to pay it or just doesn't want to, they don't have to. They still get a meal. We are not allowed to turn anyone down, nor would we even consider it. So that's a really important program. We need a way to keep that going.
Reporting in Norfolk, Hanky Hazelton, News Channel, Nebraska.
Also yesterday, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments about the enforcement of President Donald Trump's Birthright Citizenship executive order. At the heart of it, the power of presidential authority and that of lower court judges to restrain it. For more than a century, courts have understood the text of the 14th Amendment to guarantee that, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States, end quote, are U.S. citizens, no matter the immigration status of their parents. As Laura Aguirre explains, the majority conservative Supreme Court seems open to limiting nationwide injunctions, but is weary of the birthright citizenship issue.
The Trump administration wants the Supreme Court to determine if lower court judges have the authority to interfere with or ban presidential executive orders, pushing back against 3 such lower court rulings that have stalled President Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship in the U.S.
The original meaning of the Citizenship Clause extended citizenship to the children of former slaves, not to people who are unlawfully or temporarily present in the United States.
We said after the Civil War we were never again going to debate whether a child born on U.S. soil is in fact an American citizen.
The administration frames its argument as a modest effort to limit the ability of lower courts to issue universal injunctions. But critics say a ruling in the administration's favor in this case could allow it to, in essence, overturn the 14th Amendment.
If we take that away, then we have babies born in this country with no attachment to any country.
Some of the key points being engaged by both liberal and conservative justices today, allowing Trump's executive order to stand, could lead to requiring individuals to file their own lawsuits to protect their citizenship rights, and the possibility that birthright citizenship would only be upheld on a state-by-state basis.
Let's just say Colorado brings a case like the one we did here, but let's say Idaho doesn't. What happens if you're born in Idaho? You don't get the benefit of the ruling. You're not a citizen, but what if you move to Colorado? Do you become one?
We're standing up not only from a moral place, but also because we believe in the rule of law and what it has been in this context for over 150 years.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
There's a flurry of activity across Chinese factories and ports. American and Chinese companies are rushing to make the most of the 90-day tariff pause. Bookings for shipping containers from China to the U.S. have spiked almost 300%. According to container tracking software provider Vision. Meanwhile, multiple Chinese media outlets have reported that suppliers are working overtime to meet the surging demand from the U.S. companies looking to restart orders. The U.S. and China announced the tariff rollback on Monday. The U.S. lowered tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% to 30%. Meanwhile, China cut levies on U.S. imports from 125% to 10%. The pause is for an initial 90 days as negotiations for a permanent deal continue. Inspired by auctions executed by FFA chapters in the past, the Fairbury chapter of Future Business Leaders of America held a hired hand auction to raise money to send their 11 qualifiers to compete at the FBLA National Conference in California this summer. Our Tim Hackett takes us through this unique event.
A crowd of a couple dozen, mostly Fairbury families or local business owners, showed up at the Fairbury Elks Lodge on Wednesday night for an unusual event where all the students advertised their best attributes and, with an assist from an actual auctioneer, were sold off to the highest bidder.
I was like, what is this? I was very uncertain of it. FFA has previously done this way back. My dad has talked to me about it. But going into it, I was like, all right, I just got to sell myself. Mrs. Manson, our advisor, was just like, you got to go sell yourself. You got to give a strong opening piece about you. And I was like, all right, I got this. That's kind of my type of thing.
Every student raised more than $200 by selling their services to family farms, libraries, and other businesses in the area, with the auction's winners acquiring a new temporary worker for the summer.
And I think a lot of people are really happy with who they got put with because they get to try new experiences, learn other things. Like, it's just going to be an overall good experience. It'll give us more knowledge in other areas that we might not typically get. And I think it overall went really good.
While this type of event was a new experience for all the students involved, it was inspired by similar successful events executed by FFA chapters at Fairbury and other schools, past and present. And with a record number of qualifiers all needing to raise over $2,000 to help fund their trip to this summer's national conference, this was just one way for these successful students to add to their skill sets and their bank accounts as they prepare to compete in California at the end of June.
We've had the most people qualify this year than in any year by a country mile, so we're excited, but it's also kind of uncharted waters. We don't really know how to make money, so we're just kind of throwing stuff out, see if it works.
In Fairbury, Tim Hackett, News Channel, Nebraska.
The top middle school track and field athletes from across Nebraska will face off this weekend. The Nebraska Championship meet takes place Saturday in Gothenburg. NCN's Casey Wannenberg met up with the athletes from a small town hoping for big wins.
Mia Sherbein is set to face off against some big competition this weekend.
Yeah, butterflies.
The Valentine 8th grader has qualified for the Nebraska Championship in not one,
prime times, go,
but 3 events: the 100, 200, and in the 4x100 relay.
Excited and nervous.
the same time.
The meet features the fastest 7th and 8th grade athletes in Nebraska.
Let's do marching.
Just 24 individuals and 16 relay teams in each event qualify. And it's all class, meaning small town schools like Valentine go head to head with much larger schools in Lincoln and Omaha.
We'll see. I think we got a good chance at performing well, and I'm excited to see how the girls do. Set, go.
Coach Marcus Little says Valentine's 4x100 relay team has already broken the school record 3 times this year.
Whenever you're ready.
And they're not done yet.
We first broke the school record early on, and I could kind of tell that was when we were raw still. So I had a good feeling that they'd break it again a couple times. And set, go.
But racing against bigger schools is no walk on the track.
In 6th place, Valentine.
Last year was the first time Valentine ever medaled at the meet.
This is my 2nd year going state.
8th grader Keely Titus is the only returning runner from that relay squad.
Like, I already know the environment, so it's a lot easier, I guess.
While Titus is aiming for the podium again, the experience is also helping these athletes build something that will carry them far beyond the track.
A lot of teamwork, a lot of drive. Like, how to push yourself. Like, when you're tired and you don't want to do it, like, you got to push yourself that extra little bit just to get done.
News Channel Nebraska will be televising the state meet. The field events kick off at 11 o'clock Central Time on Saturday. In Valentine, Casey Weinberg, News Channel Nebraska.
40 of Northeast Nebraska's top boys and girls basketball players will compete in Norfolk in All-Star games at the end of the month. The Northeast Nebraska All-Star basketball games are set for Friday, May 30th at the Cox Activity Center at Northeast Community College. The girls' game will tip off at 6 p.m. The boys will follow at 8. Admission for the game is $7 for adults, $5 for grades K through 12, and free for pre-K and under. This is the 42nd edition of the annual All-Star Night. The rosters were announced yesterday. You can find that full list and the coaching staffs on our website.